This
10
conference
smart
will now be
products
recorded.
under the theme Smart Campus in 2018. She has 10 awards and achievements at the state level and national level. Madam is guiding 7 research scholars. Madam is collaboratively working with NITK, Surathkal for 5 projects and worked as an advisor for project on gate analysis. Her projects found grants from VGST and software companies. With this small brief introduction, I welcome Bharti Madam for our faculty development program. Welcome you, Madam.
Thank you, Vishweswaraya, for introducing me on this profile.
Screen is
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Madam.
Sir, is the screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah. Thank you. So, hi, good afternoon, everybody. So, I'll be here presenting what I've learned from Internet of Things as a passion. And the topic I'll be discussing is maybe look something locking of devices by unlocking internet. So we are all, I think, very much fed up of hearing the word lockdown, lockdown. So, but still, this is locking of devices by unlocking internet, which means we are going to get connected with the devices by opening up the internet era. So how do we lock these devices? Because till now what we found were devices were standalone devices, and now we are trying to bind them together, that is locking of devices. So to bind them we need the way communication here is internet. Open up internet to lock the devices. So that is the theme for my topic, and when I want to discuss the things, the contents or walk through my presentation would be how the digital transformation is taking place and what is Internet of Things, what is that IoT landscape, future ahead, some case studies which we really need from the part of protocols. So here, when we talk on this, first we should know what is Internet of Things, what is the origin of this, how does it work, what structure it has. Not much into detail of the technical part, but I would like to discuss all these things, and we will see really on the front of our country as an India how we need to further develop into
Madam, your microphone is muted.
it is unmuted.
Yeah, now it got unmuted.
Okay. So locking of devices by unlocking internet is where we are trying to connect devices as locking of devices. But to have that connectivity, we are doing it by unlocking the internet. But that is using internet. We are opening up internet, but we are locking these devices together. So what these devices actually mean to us, and how this digital transformation journey took place, and how do we deliver value to this digital transformation, especially Internet of Things. And we'll have some case studies with respect to ecosystem of India, then what are the new truths. So going to this, there are some observations made. Any concept, any technology that comes into should create value over time, where a company should feel better and what people really need, what user end needs. And we should, when a user needs, we should also make such things that it makes life easier for customers, and just not making life satisfying the customer, jobs to be done. And we should not really underestimate, because demand of the customers are more and self-centered. So when all these are taken into picture, a new technology will evolve by itself. So here the road to digital transformation takes from digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. So initially, when computers came into existence, we were only having data to it. So some processing would take place, but we wouldn't adapt it to or apply it elsewhere than just seeing it as a program. But when adapted, put it into a process, apply it to some applications, then we create a business value for it. So it became into digital transformation. So I would like to have a big gratitude to this Kevin Ashton, who is called as father of Internet of Things, for coining the term Internet of Things. Actually, he was working in GE in 1999, where he thought that why should not devices talk to each other, and he found that earlier computers are brains, according to us, which process information. So he said that computers are brains, but they do not have sense, that is, sensing capability. So when he thought of having computers with processing, that is a brain that process, but also with adding some sensing capability to it by connecting to each other, he coined the term it as Internet of Things, which connects to the physical world. So this is how the evolution of IT started. Before internet, it was human to human communication with fixed mobile or telephony. Then it came internet of content, that is everywhere we could see web technology with email, information, entertainment. Even it was in 90s, a little was spread about that is World Wide Web, that is internet of content, which was more popular than internet as a service was used. Earlier, internet was used just to transfer the content or information, that is IT. Next, internet was a service provider which had took many of the services into consideration, such as e-productivity, e-commerce, then supply chain management, many to list in that. So where internet was used to provide other services in different sectors. Then internet started connecting people through social media. As we all know, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, many are there now into line. So this is internet of people. Then it is only between people, it is only between, it was a passive way of using internet. Then came an active way of using internet by connecting all the devices, most of the devices that we could find physically, and interact with people, or connect device to device where without human intervention they talk to each other. So the other term that we call it as machine to machine. So this is how the evolution of IT took place. So earlier we used to study the network, computer networks, where we usually tell that networks is just connection of devices, interconnection of systems, but it is which will share resources. But here when it comes to Internet of Things, it is not just sharing of resources, it is interaction also between the resources. So when IoT can be defined as network of physical objects. Physical objects can be anything. So that thing which we call it as an IoT device now is embedded with electronics, with software, sensors, and a communication media, that is your network connectivity, which will enable objects to collect and exchange data. So according to Kevin Eston, when he says computer is a brain but does not sense, because earlier IT, information technology, what we talk, used to collect inputs from people or human beings and would process and give out the data, but by itself it couldn't sense anything, like any physical world parameters it couldn't check, nor on itself it couldn't interact with anybody. See, even if I wanted a computer to print out paper, I should give it as a print, then it prints. But now automation has gone to that level. It knows when I set and schedule it, it goes for printing by itself. This is what is Internet of Things, where network is changed, where the devices communicate with each other and interact. So this IoT will allow objects to be sensed, controlled. See, it is not just exchanging of information, what we have thinking of network as collecting information or sharing of resources. So now it is IoT which adds the parameters of sensing, controlling the network infrastructure or other objects which are present in the physical world, and just not controlling and sensing, but how it has to be done with greater efficiency, accuracy, and cost benefits. But how do we identify things when there are so many devices connected in a network? So every system should have a unique ID, just like what we have in your computer networks. Each device, each system is given an IP address. In the same way here, the things in the IoT, the devices that get connected in the IoT will have unique identities, and their functioning is in the form of remote sensing, actuating, and monitoring capabilities. So these can be done by some implants. We'll see what this is. See here, you can see just a caption of humor telling there is an interaction between a refrigerator and a stove. If they are not able to communicate, the refrigerator is not going to open. See, this is how technology works on the other end also. One way we find that is more flexible, it satisfies the customers, but sometimes it leads to disaster also. So the various names that we talk, we call different names: M to M, machine to machine, object to object, Internet of everything, world size web, Skynet, Internet of medical things, Internet of people. So it all depends, sensing of what physical parameters are taking place and interaction between whom it is, with which things we are doing, the names are converted into the different names as M2M, IoE, IOMT, IOOP, and many more to list. But the concept remains the same, where interaction is done across things with internet. So what actually IoT means? It is defined with 3 dimensions, just like any time connection. It should be able, I should be able to connect any device which is called or which is connected by an internet on the move, either I'm indoor or outdoor, whether it is daytime or night, and any place connection. So anytime it is night, day, afternoon, anytime, and any place wherever I am connected to a PC, I am connected to a mobile, I am connected to a laptop, anywhere it should get done. And anything, either it should be a human to human interaction, not using a PC, or human to a thing, any generic thing or thing to thing without human intervention, they should be able to communicate. So it is a 3-dimensional way of telling that this IoT is anytime, any place, anything getting connected. So that becomes a thing which is connected to Internet of Things. How actually IoT works? So in an abstract way, when we tell Internet of Things, which has got an extra feature other than IT, when I tell it is convergence of IT and OT, where IT stands for information technology and OT stands for operational technology. So initially IT was existing since the invention of computers. IT is already existing, where we get data and it processes. But operational data, when it is sent, when it is processed, analyzed, interaction, and then gets a business value to it. So operational technology also added to it. So in an abstract way, we define 4 blocks for IoT to work. That is, RF, first thing is it has to identify, track the data of things. So we know that things have unique identifier, and which thing, when I connect 100 devices in a network, I should know which object is sending what data. So I should be able to identify that, and how those things are going to identify or monitor or recognize the physical parameters is through RFID. And sensors, these are small devices, and they have computing capability, very small computing capability, storage and energy is also very less in the sensors. They will be able to collect and process data to detect changes in the physical status of things. So it is all based on how we configure the sensor, whether it is periodic sensing it has to do, whether it is an event based sensing it has to do, or it should be a continuous way of sensing the parameters. Based on that, it collects the data, it processes and sends the data. And the next block of your IoT is to have a communication media, that is network, which has to be developed, and it should have capability of connecting different devices with different parts of the network. And nanotech, when we say miniaturization of these things which have the ability to connect and interact. So all the sensor devices or the RFIDs which we try to embed should be miniaturized, because optimal space to be taken up when we embed them in some of these components, some of the things. So what actually these sensors are and what actuators are? So here it's very interesting. When we take mobile, each one of us uses smartphone. But what we say, when we touch a phone, scrolling is done upside down or it is sideways. So there are two things in your mobiles. One is sensors and the other one is actuators. So we see the different features of your mobile. One is camera and is a speaker. So how do we distinguish which is a sensor and which is a speaker? What we say, so it is a smartphone, it has got sensors. This is a casual way of talking things. But there are differences between those features that get embedded onto your mobile set. So sensor is that device which takes up useful energy, converts into electric data signal. And actuators take input as electric data signal, give out useful energy. So when we talk about camera, light goes in and becomes electric signal. So it is a sensor. Camera is a sensor. Speaker, it takes electric signal, becomes sound into useful energy, that is sound, it gets converted. So it is a speaker is an actuator but not a sensor. Screen is an actuator, an electric signal becomes light. So these are how we differentiate between sensors and actuators. But both together will sense the things. It is not independent that we talk about sensors and actuators. Just see here, we have certain set of figures put on the screen, and the first one says, will I hit anything? So here, the thing that is happening is, will I hit anything? How does that machine know? There's a rabbit in front of us, and the machine should take a turn or come to a halt. So there's an embedded sensor in it which says there is an obstacle in front of us and it detects this. This is what sensing is done by the machine. And to sense this, how does it sense there is a rabbit and it has to detect it's an obstacle and put a halt or turn? So that is, you have sensors embedded in that. And the second figure is about crop harvesting. So crop harvesting, you should know where is the crop line to harvest it. That is also sensed by some sensors. We'll see what those sensors are. And in the third figure, we can see some people, there is a square that is enclosing the faces recognition, that is face recognition. So what type of sensors are these? Are these different types of sensors? And in the fourth figure, there is a mage puzzle problem where there is a doll and there's a question mark, how to come out of it. So which is the way to come out of it? See, here we are performing different tasks. Each figure has a specific task to be done. If I see the first figure where the rabbit and there is a bot going on, So we say it is obstacle detection. When I go to crop harvesting, then it is how do I find the crop line? So then when I see the third one, it is face recognition, recognition sensors. When I see the fourth one, where it has to find a path to reach out, it is localization. How do I find a path which can be take out of this maze? So these are specific tasks that will be done by specific sensors based on some categorizations. You can see what this categorization. All these things, either it is face recognition or finding a crop line or obstacle detection, or it is localization, finding where it is, how to move out. So all this will be sensed by using sensors. Then how do we categorize these sensors? So broadly, basically, the types of sensors that we see are active and passive. So active sensors are those that it works in a way sending signal to the environment, measure interaction of signal with respect to environment, radar, sonar. So these are the sensors, types of sensors. But what passive sensors does? Just records the signals already present in environment. Video cameras, it doesn't do anything. It will just record whatever the parameter changes are taking place in the physical environment. It just records the data inside it, but it does not send anything from the device or the sensors. And when you come to this active and passive, if you are dealing with the external world, where when you are trying to find locations, where is something, how does it work? So these are all exteroceptive type of sensors. So when we talk about exteroceptive type of sensors, it is passive sensors. Proprioceptive type of sensors deals with itself. Where are my hands? Am I balanced? Encoders, gyroscopes, accelerators. So these are all proprioceptive. And when I talk about interoceptive, it talks about biochemical things. What is my thirst level based on some biochemical process that is going on in my body? What is my battery charge? How do I find voltmeter? So these are interoceptive, that is internal to some devices. If you want to send some parameters, it becomes interoceptive. So these are some broad classifications where we categorize these sensors. What actually these sensor devices or when we call it as an IoT devices. See, what we see in regular systems is a connectivity that needs to get established. The processor is always there, audio video interface, storage, memory interfaces, graphics, these are all common, but we need to have cards and actuators for only thing is because we are interfacing our IO interfaces with sensors and actuators. Added this card to your system, this can become an IoT device. The main thing is when we talk about the actuators and sensors, what protocols, what architecture do these IoT follow? So it is similar to your architecture of your OSI model, but we have different things. When I call it as device, it may be sensors or actuators or Internet of Things, where whatever is trying to communicate with the help of sensors and actuators, that becomes your device. And when I talk of communication, so communication may be your Bluetooth technology, or it may be your low WPAN, or it may be your Wi-Fi. So this forms your communication. Then the services that are provided through your applications. Application protocols, maybe if it is a web connected device, it is HTTP. If it is maybe a constrained application protocol also may be there, which works under only some constraints, or any other application to which the service is needed by your device. So that comes into your application layer. And we talk about security. So the security application runs both for your services as well as communications. We'll see how the security has to be provided, and management of these services and communications has to take place. So when we start of thinking IoTs, we think at different levels. One is when we talk about IoT, So we imagine at once what we imagine, oh, big machines connected to each other, big things connected to each other where they interact, or we always think of large number of devices connected to each other. No, it all depends upon how we are going to connect, how many nodes or sensors are we going to connect, what is the amount of data that we are going to sense, where is that processing of that data takes place, whether it is at sensor or whether at another process, that is either a server connected with these nodes or a cloud storage. It all depends upon the complexity of the number of nodes and the processing and the storage. So going down to this, first level is very low cost, low complexity solutions. Monitoring node performs analysis and stores data within the node. And as I said that sensors are miniature devices with low battery power. We have to think of energy conservation. And because these are miniature devices, the processing part is also very low. So suppose if I just want to monitor temperature or monitor humidity, so that can be done by a single node, and processing of that data can be done, and the data storage also can be done at a node, until and unless it is a continuous monitoring, understand. So when we think of monitoring at very frequent, like periodically, only every 2 hours it has to monitor and send the data, or we want to send the data to some storage which we have connected this temperature sensor. Either it may be a cloud storage, or it may be a server, or our own standalone system if you are connecting. And we see that only when temperature changes, then very rarely we find data. So processing can be done at the node itself. So that is IoT level 1. When it comes to level 2, monitoring nodes perform analysis also, and the data is sent for cloud storage. In this condition, when we are sending data to cloud storage, that means the amount of memory that the sensor has is a low memory, and the data that is handled here or sensed is too huge to be stored at the sensor memory. So it is sent to the cloud sensor, cloud storage, where it is stored, and it is computationally done. Then level 3 also, if we see IoT level 1, level 2, level 3, there are not many sensor nodes, some 1 or 2 sensor nodes which are used, but the data that is collected from those sensor nodes are too huge. See here, when it comes to level 3, it is only monitoring. The data that is collected or sensed is too big data to be analyzed at the sensor end, because the processing is very less. Processing can be done continuously, but the energy conservation also has to be thought when we think of processing at a sensor end. So here, when the data is too big and analysis is computationally intensive, very large computation has to be done, then that data has to be sent to the cloud for analysis also. In the prior structure of the IoT level, we saw that analysis also was done at the sensor end. But now when computationally very intensive data is there, where lot of computation needs to be done, then that can be done at the cloud storage. That is IoT level 3. If you have sensors connected to such things, then analysis and storage is done at the cloud end. Then IoT level 4, monitoring nodes. We have multiple nodes here. They perform some local analysis and then send it to cloud storage. So noise monitoring at various locations is one good example for this, where multiple nodes are there, because sound and noise monitoring at various locations. Multiple nodes are sending data. If they have the same data, they can aggregate, remove the redundant data and send only specific data. So that part can be done at the local node, and only for storage it is sent to the cloud. So next is IoT level 5, which is a huge network of IoT, where we usually imagine to be thinking when we talk about IoT, large number of monitoring nodes put elsewhere deployed, and a large number of data is coming to it, and they have many intermediate nodes between the storage and the processor. So processing is also taking place at the cloud end, storage also, but intermediate, too many nodes that come into when it is IoT level 5. See, parameter sensing those at the sensors for the physical environment form one layer. Intermediate layer, another set of maybe one or two multiple intermediate layers of sensors may be seen so that the hop is reduced between the sensor nodes so that energy is conserved and it reaches the cloud storage for analysis. So seeing all this, we have to identify which application needs what level of complexity of IoT to be deployed. So the different communication models that we need here in IoT are similar to other client server architecture. It is request response communication model where a client sends request to servers and servers receive this request from client, processes request, looks up, fetches resources that are necessary in the request that is given by the client and prepares the response that has to be sent to the client. It sends those response. So here server will communicate with the resources to see their availability which the client has requested. Based on that, the response is sent. That means here the request response communication model, when we see in client server architecture, we don't see the resource part communication. We just see the communication between client and server. But when it comes to IoT communication model, request response communication model is along with resources also. Next is publish subscribe model. So here publish, this sends messages to topic which are, see, the broker agent to the server side will have list of topics to, that means when we have sensors deployed in the field where the environmental parameters are sensed or hello hello. So we can see that the number of topics that are present are topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. So the sensing parameters are many, but the base station, whatever it needs, suppose me as a consumer, there is a sensor which is going to sense the humidity, temperature of a particular environment, pressure, pollution. These are the 4 parameters it is testing. But as a consumer, I may need only temperature and humidity. The other consumer may need temperature and pollution. So it is all depend. In such condition, the IoT communication model will have publish subscribe model. So I have to publish what I need as a message to the broker, and it sends me the required data. So in this particular presentation, what you see here in the publish subscribe model, consumer 1 and 2 are requesting for topic 1, but consumer 3 is subscribing. That means sensor is able to send the data based on the consumption or demand by the consumer or the things that it is interacting. The next communication model that we get here is push-pull communication model, where we send messages to queue and messages will be in the queues waiting, published to these queues, and from those queues the consumers pull the data whatever is needed by them. So these are some of the communication models. But what are the characteristics of IoT? As I said, computer is a brain but does not have sense. But what are the other characteristics that makes IoT as a popular one? When we talk about it as dynamic and self-adapting, when we take it as a surveillance camera, which will dynamically adapt with the changing context, take action based on their operating system. See, even the cameras that now smartphones have, there are options. Only when you smile, it clicks a photo. If not, it doesn't. So it is dynamic and self-adapting, self-configuring, means it configures itself with minimal manual intervention. So they have functionalities embedded together they work with large number of devices, when to interact, when to share, when not to communicate. So this will be all self-configured. And the third interesting part is that they should be able to interoperate with different communication protocols, because it is not the same type of devices that we are communicating with. There are variant types of devices that are connected together to communicate. Maybe I'm connecting my laptop with a LCD projector. LCD projector is communicating to a printer. A printer is communicating to a plotter. So these are all different devices that are present, which are connected. How do I communicate? Because LCD has got a different principle to work, laptop has got a different way of working, plotters have got a different way of working. Even if we think to go to the large field of medical, so here we see different types of wearable devices communicating different parameters. Their communication protocols are different, their communication media is different. Maybe the device which I am using is Bluetooth, maybe the other device is using Wi-Fi. How do I interoperate these and get communicated to each other? So these are some characteristics that can be the part of IoT with unique identity. So when I have large number of devices connected, how do I query which device answer I need or the data from which I have to extract the I should have sensors unique identity. Initially we studied that every sensor has got unique identity. So this unique identity will help them to query the device. The unique identity is its IP addresses given. So how do we integrate this information into the network? So this is intelligence that comes. Nowadays, everybody talks about smart. So that is collective intelligence of devices. Even simple intelligence that embeds into our laptop is whenever we do not work on the laptop, when there is no movement, when we do not use a keyboard, it goes to sleep, it becomes passive. That is intelligence of devices, which we call them as smart. So, in a very crude way of telling, IoT is a network of networks. See, when we tell Internet of Things, Internet is already a network. And when we connect these networks by different types of networks, it becomes network of networks. Transport is one network, energy, business, earth, home, different sectors. So each one is an individual network. When we connect energy and transport, energy and education, they get connected to each other and they become network of networks. But how do we do with these networks? Just not connecting to each other, but we should add security, and whatever data we get, we should be able to have analytics of that data, manage those data, and help to become more powerful what the people demands. Applications of IoT, if you see this figure, we come to know every sector, whatever you speak sector, then there is Internet of Things. Either it is your transportation, education, either it is your medical things, or it is your recreation devices, or it is your energy devices, or it is your communication. You speak of anything, there is IoT in it. So IoT, the main aim of IoT, why do we need to connect all these things? So that we automate them and they are easy to be used. There's a flexibility in using. So the ultimate goal of IoT is to automate human life. So when everything is getting connected to each other and you have a remote control over all these things with one device in your hand, then everything is automated. This makes human life very easy. So as I said, you name it and you will have it in IoT. Either it is home automation, manufacturing field, medical and healthcare system, entertainment, or environmental monitoring, surveillance, your real estate, or your energy management. Talk of any sector, you will have IoT in it. IoT in it is automation in it. So these are some diverse applications: home, transport, health, the same thing, building, and everywhere we see people talking about smart cities. What smart cities is? Every sector, if it is automated, it default it is a smart city. Suppose healthcare are all connected to each other, then if there is a telemedicine, telesurgery going on, so all this is healthcare industry automation, automation of transport, automations of homes, automation of supply chain management. If everything is automated, by default, that city becomes a smart city. So one example which I have taken from a source from emerging telecommunications, where efficient waste management in smart cities. That is what I said. If every sector is automated, then the city by itself is a smart city. So here we see one example for waste management. So there are bins that are put up in on the roadsides, and there are street lights already. So we can have sensors on the poles of the street lights, which can sense when the bin is 3/4 filled. Then you can communicate. It senses that it is 3/4 filled. It can send that data to the cloud with platform, or your municipal council, or recycling plant, or manufacturing plant, or health and safety authorities, who has to clean that bin where it has to be taken. So through that platform, it can send SMS or mails to these authorized people, and then tell this bin has to be, this garbage can is 3/4 filled, it needs to be emptied. Then a garbage truck comes, fills it, and it transfers. From the garbage truck, there are sensors embedded on the garbage trucks also. Those also communicate to your cloud platform connectivity with the cloud, where this data from the sensor from the garbage can is going. So they will communicate and send this truck to the needed. Either it is sent to recycling plant or it is sent to the manufacturing plant. So we can see that communication to this cloud platform is from the garbage can, which is embedded with active sensors. And on the pole, there are sensors which are used for communicating to the cloud platform. The truck is also embedded with sensor communicating where this truck should be diverted to. And the communication goes to all the authorities that are concerned with this waste management. So this forms a cycle of IoT. So the difference here, many people, what they think, many people misunderstand the concept of IoT with embedded system. So how do we know where do we draw the line of an embedded system and an IoT? So coming to that, so what we see in IoT and what we see in embedded system. So embedded systems also have sensors. IoT also has sensors. But embedded systems, when they have sensors in it, they are static. They only keep acting based on the parameters it has to sense. It is only based on content, what content it has to capture. But when we talk about IoT, the same sensor, the difference, the way of sensing is dependent on context. So that's the difference between embedded system. So we have a wrong notion of telling, if I see any component, if I see anything which is embedded with a sensor, is an IoT device. No, if it is context based, it is an IoT device. If it is content based, it is just an embedded system. So that difference we should be able to find out between what is embedded and what is embedded device and an IoT device. But now we see sensors even on the cow, which will keep the cow connected and monitored by the farmer every time for their movements and what amount it has grazed, where it has grazed, how long it has grazed. So all this monitoring of these parameters can be done by a farmer. So sensors everywhere, it doesn't leave even the wildlife around. So here is another application scenario of shopping. So when we talk of automation, when we talk of IoT, so we think that there should be no manual intervention. So one application scenario that talks about an IoT in a shopping use case, whenever you enter into the market, goods should introduce by themselves. So till now we have not seen goods introducing by themselves. Now we have to see how they introduce by themselves. Whether they need an audio to be introduced to themselves, or they need to give a beep sound when you pass across them. So when shopping in the markets, goods should be able to introduce themselves. When entering the door, scanners will identify the tags that is already existing. When you pay, you can use your credit card, which communicates with your checkout reader. Then when moving the goods, the reader will tell the staff to put a new one. See, at every end. But now what we see in most of the malls is at the exit end, we have a guard, security guard who stands and who checks the bill. But Do we have any option of having an RFID reader which reads the bill and says this bill has been passed out and he has been exited? So this is how we have to think when we think of IoT applications. So where all do we find? One is streamlined factories, geolocating sensors. One can see how people and products are moving. Processes can be streamlined. Production time can be reduced. If we have sensors, geolocating sensors, we can see how people and products are moving. So this can be used in a container if it is reaching its capacity, just like what we saw in the garbage bin. And it will alert for a forklift to remove the container, replace with a new one. This can be used for waste management. But what use will it be? How will it help people? So how it will be useful when it comes to productive levels? So it makes more uptime for factories and it leads to higher. That is, we don't must. These are stereotype of works which needs people. So these can be automated, which can have more uptime for factories and give more productive levels. So there are sensors on some of the tins, some of the racks we can find out now in big retails. So when the product are coming to an end, I mean the number of units that are on the rack is reducing, it will reorder the parts by itself and can be automatically placed with the suppliers. So we do not run shortage of items on our rack. Even smart refrigerators, the milk containers, the eggs in the fridge, when they are reduced, when they're 1 or 2, they'll start giving alert signals. So that means we will never run out of this. Automatically it will be replaced. We see smart fridges even placing orders to the suppliers to, they place the grocery orders also. This is where IoT has penetrated into our daily lives. So this also will, this is one important application when it comes to healthcare application. So when it is introspective type of sensors that are involved here, I'm speaking about a Fitbit which everybody wears. So here what all data is getting collected, it is how well do I sleep. So it says at what time I went to bed, what time I fell asleep, then how is it measuring all this? So it says time awakened 20, then you were in bed for 6 hours, 40 minutes. This is fine. If there is a timer, it says how long I was in a bed. But whether I fell asleep, whether I had a sound sleep, whether I just slept. So these all need sensors. How much, what was my sleep pattern also it is showing. So these are all sensed by some sensors. Suppose if I'm sleeping, but how does it know whether I'm fast asleep? Maybe I'm snoring, that sound is recorded, that helps it to find that I was fast asleep. Or there may be some sensor which will find out my eyes that were blinking, then it says I was not sound sleep. I had a sleep which was awakened sleep. So this is how the sensors help to get embedded in devices which are wearable devices and can be used as introspective type of sensors that we get into to test ourselves. So if I want to know about myself, so where am I going? Whom have I interacted? Which friends I spoke? What type of affinity of connections I have? How long I was working? What was my tone of talking? See, these are some of the things that we need to know by ourselves. So things needs to get embedded here. Things gets embedded with different types of sensors. It is not everything is getting with introspective. It is culmination or connection of introspective devices, extero receptor devices, I mean sensors that are to be used. So connecting these different types of sensors are also interoperability communication challenges that get into. The extension of IoT that gets into thought controlled computing. See, when we wear, even now things have come into such wearing EEG headset. Mindwave is a company that has produced a headset. So that will read your minds and it will process it and it will do. Already we have seen people, if I think I have to open the screen of a computer, just a thought process getting into my screen, that signal is passed to the laptop or desktop, whichever I'm using, and it opens up the screen. That is where the IoT has reached with embedded devices and some variables on your head which could process the data that is taking the signals that are getting processed in your brains and sending them as a signals to interact with the physical objects that are present around you. So these are all common applications that we have taken till now, what IoT was and where do we find? We said in every sector we find IoT applications. So here coming to the special where everybody is talking about COVID-19. So how does IoT deal with COVID-19? What is that that brings an association between IoT and COVID-19? So we have here, when we have IoT in place, Internet of Things, we are trying to connect these things. So suppose if I have something like a kit which has to see, we know the symptoms of COVID-19, severe headache, cough, sneezes, and temperature, high temperature. These are the vital symptoms that we see. And when we do this, how does IoT respond to this? What are those sensors that are required here? So when I talk of IoT that can be used in COVID-19, we can think sensor or that is temperature sensor embedded on a wearable device. When I cough, that sound has to be recorded, sensed by the sensor, find at what decibels did the cough sound, how frequently am I coughing, was it severe, and if I sneeze, how many times I have sneezed. So a count of all this data can help you to identify whether I have symptoms of COVID or not. So some wearable devices can be done, which will help us to introspect ourselves whether with these symptoms. So these can help us when we have IoTs. So these devices, see, if I see a doctor or if I see a nurse, see, they get exhausted. So they can work for 8 hours. But when I have a device that does not get exhausted, that does not get saturated, it works with the same efficiency. So it is better we have IoTs, but maybe not the decisions that are taken up as human beings could be done in diagnostics, but where stereotype of diagnosis needs to be done, where a sister or a doctor needs to check very frequently temperature of a COVID patient. So that can be done remotely, where a wearable device of temperature monitoring can be put up on his wrist, and remotely a sister sitting in a station, that is sister station or some remote place, she can monitor the patient's temperature. So this will reduce the chance of mistakes. Maybe a sister is too busy, she may not be able to reach that patient, where the recording of the temperature has to be done every 1 hour. When there are thousands of patients, may not be she will be able to record this. There are cases of making mistakes. But when we have IoT devices as a wearable device that monitors it, that can be recorded at any point of time, she can take that data. So reduce chances of mistakes. Then using that data, we could have a very good analysis, diagnosis, and give a very superior treatment than enhanced diagnosis, than at lesser expenses. We can see so many doctors have lost life because of this COVID-19 infections. So all this can be violated or avoided when we use IoT. Instead of frequently visiting a COVID patient for collecting his temperature, remotely you can sit where a wearable device is on his wrist and it sends the data to your remote PC or mobile. You can sit and observe there itself than rather than going frequent visits to that patient. This is one application where we can see in any type of influenzas, flus, pandemic diseases or contagious diseases, IoT is of major help. So how do we execute IoT? What is that setup process that we can use for IoT for fighting COVID-19 pandemic? So first step that we can take is, how do we monitor data, from in remote location, health data monitoring in either the patient is in remote location, you are at your hospital, or where the treatment is, where the doctor or sisters are. From there, how do you monitor these patients and collect their data? So that is one. The first step is to monitor the data, vital symptoms of that patient from remote location. So our patient is in one ICU, you are at your sister station, that is a workstation, and you sitting at a remote location, you can collect the data on your PC or on your mobile. Then the next step that you need to go up as meetings and communication, virtual management. May not be every time the doctor is available, nurses are available, or collect the information from the patients by having virtual meetings. Then analysis of the data received and controlling can also be done virtually by using IoT, because you are at your PC, you are using the data that has come to the PC through the communication with that IoT device, which is a wearable device on the COVID patients. Then following of the report attend. All this can be virtually set up. See, nowadays, what we see is, as there is a spike in COVID-19, there are no beds in hospitals. They are not retaining the patients. So what they do after 7 days of recovery, they said, but they need to monitor them for 21 days. All that monitoring can be done by sending them home, by collecting data remotely from their home, conducting virtual meeting with those people, analyzing the data that is received, and follow up also to be sent through IoT. So all this can be performed by using an IoT process in place. So we see people who are in quarantine moving about. What do we do for those people moving about in quarantine? How IoT can be used there? What applications can be used? Can we have a wearable device with a GPS when he comes out or moves out of that Wi-Fi location? When it loses its connectivity, it is understood that he is out of his quarantine area. So this is how we have to think at every move, where when we have these sensors implanted, how it has to be used.
ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದ
ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ನನಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತೆ
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿಂದಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ ನಾನು ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಇಂಥವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯಪ್ಪ.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
ಅದರಲ್ಲೇ
So the issues that we find in and challenges that we find in implementing for this pandemic diseases, the first one is, how do we deal with this IoT? Can we have so many IoT devices, or they can be tampered also? These IoT devices can be tampered also. So there are issues with that and challenges. See, when we talk about having a wearable device communicating with a Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, when we talk about remote management, when we talk about remote meetings and remote monitoring, but we see places, infrastructure is a big problem, technical challenge that we see in India as an ecosystem for IoT. So when we go to remote villages, rural places, connectivity is a big issue. So these are some of the issues, but majorly classified as safety, security, and privacy of data. See, when it comes to our personal data of health, that is personal health records, so there are some guidelines that needs to be followed. So Medical Council of India and Indian Council for Medical Research gives that health data, that is personal health records, are confidential and very sensitive, that cannot be exposed to anybody just like that. So safety, security, and privacy of data plays a major role when we are using wearable devices, because these data are passed to many third parties, where it is stored in cloud or it is outsourced to a data center. So how about the safety, security, and privacy of data? Then the other thing is challenges in network integration. So these are two major challenges. When it comes to safety, security, and privacy of data, maybe the patient's data may be misused, or sometimes it may lead to cybercrime cases also. So when we think of network integration, it comes to the problem of data integration. How do I integrate data? From which location this data is? So these are all some of the issues where it has to be integrated, whether the integration has to be done at edges or it has to be done by third party when where it is outsourced at the data centers. So these are all the issues that we face with and challenges in implementing IoT. So the major applications where we see of IoT for this COVID-19 pandemic is, one application is internet connected hospitals. See, small clinics we cannot think of connecting, but big hospitals can have this facility of internet connected hospitals to support pandemic with hospital premises. Then see, there was a moment where people should not spit around on the roads or in the premises. We can have some camera, we can have some sensor which will tell who has spit and suddenly alert up people telling that this person has spit up here and this is where this contagious thing is going to come. So every premises of hospital to be connected with the internet. Then emergency, how fast you can move, respond quickly when you are remotely monitoring something can also be used with an IoT. Treatments can be offered through IoT. So there are many things, screening, then medical tools and devices through internet, which convey the real-time information during treatment. So suppose I have 1,000 patients to attend and I have a very few human resource, manpower, 10 doctors with 10 nurses. These people cannot serve in a very efficient way to the patients around. So in that condition, what they can do is they can have this all. Suppose if there is a drip put around for a patient, the control of that drip, how fast the drip has to enter into his body, how either reducing the speed of the drip that enters into his body or increasing the speed of the drip, that all also has to be remotely controlled. So connecting all these tools and devices through the internet is one thing. And the other thing is forecasting of virus, because it's an invisible thing, we do not know, but at least we can have some environment parameter monitoring which says what are the particles that are present in the air. So will we be able to do anything with that data that is collected through those reports which are monitoring the contents or parameters that are present in the atmosphere and air. So forecasting of virus, forecasting of treatment, forecasting of pandemicness, all these can be done through IoT. So here we have a machine which is fitted with a sensor. So we call, when anything gets embedded with a sensor, that is termed as a smart. So when a machine is getting embedded with a sensor, we call a fancy term, industry term, it becomes smart machine, or it is an edge. So that when I have a sensor, it is sensing something. So whatever it senses, that becomes data for that. So that data in industry, fancy term, it is big data, because it is continuously collecting the data from the machine. And that data is sent to your data centers. So now, so-called in industry term, it is cloud. The earlier data centers now are called as clouds, but they have a different architecture and platform to be followed. But part of it can be called as data center. But what will we do with that data? So whenever it is a big data, just storage doesn't help anywhere. But that data has to be used for analysis. So that is a fancy term now called as predictive or prescriptive or edge analytics. So analysis of the data. Suppose if I tell 10 patients have come today in, that means what am I going to analyze? The spread is low of this COVID-19. If I get 100 patients, if a sensor is able to sense in the ward of COVID patients, 100 have admitted, then what is the predictive analysis of that? That is, there is a spike in the contagious. That is, the virus is spreading fast. So who makes this decision, how it is done? So that is all done by artificial intelligence. The fancy term for industry here tells us as cognitive intelligence. So these are all the names given in terms what we already had in the POS. So when it is clubbed with something smart with a sensor, and it is able to sense, identify, make some decision on behalf of humans or behalf of uh, human beings. So these becomes cognitive intelligence, decision making, smart. So they themselves stand with all this. But sensor sensing, sending the data to cloud, analysis at the edge, at the cloud or at the data center that is done by some expert system sitting inside. Expert system is a tool of artificial intelligence that is used in making decisions based on the data collected. So all this will happen only when there is a communication and connectivity between each of this, and that is internet. So when I connect all these components to an internet, where we call it as an connectivity with some type of security given to it, it forms a complete cycle of an IoT. So the challenges, technical challenges of IoT is when I have large number of devices, how do I make it interoperable? I may have two, three, but how do I make communicate to millions of devices which are getting connected together? When we talk of smart city, I should be able to communicate to every sector. So how do I do? Scalability is a problem. Standardization is a problem. That's what when we spoke about the infrastructure, some may use Wi-Fi, some may use Bluetooth, some may use low pan. So these are all the standardization problems. And when large data volumes are collected, maybe it is a structured data, unstructured data, how do I interpret the data when it comes to analysis? Then how about power supply, communication, throughput? So all these are fault tolerance. So these are some things that really needs attention as the technical challenges of IoT. So there are some criticism and controversies also about people and scholars think, and when they make observation, they think about how they may be able to manipulate data when we give data in their hand. Design may be environmental impact, influences human moral, decision making. See, when a system makes decision on behalf of me, when it's success, it is acceptable, but when it is a failure, we cry on it. So these are all some doubts and criticism, controversies, political manipulations that can be done. So we have seen already these mobile towers, what impact they have on the environment. So even when we have billions of devices that are put as sensors to monitor, track, or surveillance, what will be the environmental impact? So there are scholars and social observers who criticize the IoT revolution. So the main thing when we talk as a faculty, academicians in a group, we mostly think of research. So the technological development in research in IoT stands in different areas. When it comes to identification technology, so we have beyond 2020 I have scaled down. So object identifier, how do we think? How do see when millions of devices are connected and some 10 devices go wrong, how do I identify which device has gone wrong? Where is it placed? So these are some of the things that needs to be done here. In terms of architecture, internet architecture, cognitive architectures are coming into place. Till now, what we had seen is communication model architecture. But now decision making and intelligence to be added into the architecture, that is cognitive architecture is a good area for research beyond 2020. Then infrastructure, then internet of things applications, as we see already, as I said, speak of any sector, there is an application of IoT involved in it, but still there is IoT information that is open market for using that data. Communication technology, when we talk, it is about protocols. How do we have design protocols that comes over a wide spectrum, unified protocol? Some may use HTTP, some may use a constraint application protocol at the application layer. How do I unify this protocol and give it to the presenter user? So this comes under communication technology. Network, then IPv6 based IoT deployments, cognitions, then softwares, algorithms. So many things when it comes to data visualization, then automation, analysis, whether it should be user centric or it should be an things to human collaboration. How do we design these things? Hardware, when we think of sensors, what is the hardware that is used for building these sensors, for designing or manufacturing these sensors? Smart sensors, biochemical, then nano sensors we are talking now. So what type of material to be used for this nanotechnology sensors? Then data and signal processing, then power and energy storage, biodegradable batteries, because I said energy harvesting or energy harnessing in sensors is a major issue. When I put continuously monitoring sensor, then the battery is lost. Understand? So how do we have such batteries? Now we see plastic, these are not biodegradable, but how do we make e-waste is again a big question mark in environmental impact. So when we expose these things to environment, how the environment accepts it, that is where criticism is coming. So we need lot of research going on biodegradable batteries also. And security, privacy, these are all areas where there is a lot of research going on for IoT. Material technology and standardizations. So M2M standardizations and heterogeneous networks getting connected to each other, then autonomic communication protocols, how do we adapt? So earlier IEEE standard used to give this, but how about IoT? ITU and IEEE both give this standards. So these are some of the research areas. These slides will be shared with the people and can be used. Coming to this interesting topic of some important IoT case studies that India is still lacking in, and where we are a developing country, there are a lot of opportunities for us to do. Some of the key IoT case studies that are taken up in India are, one is automation system, building of automation systems, that is created for building occupants, perform operations such as controlling AC, booking conference room, tracking, navigating building assets. This is already existing, but this can be classified into things where we need to track people moving, fixed assets for the enterprise segment. That is, leading telecom operators are venturing into it. They are tracking our locations. Then this also comes into a question of location-based services, which these telecom operators do. Then leading seed company, that is smart farming solutions developed, detection of plant growth. Then if there is a disease with which the plant is suffering, at what time the pesticides or fertilizers to be put in. Then predicting what would be the yield by seeing the size of the plant sitting in a remote place, monitoring the farms. These are all the studies that are going in India where IoT is getting involved. Real estate companies for smart energy management solution, automate then energy consumption patterns, grid, what we talk about in energy is grid. Then infrastructure company, that is supplying of monitoring raw material consumption, supplying those, automating and streamlining these processes in production. Then we have seen leading automotive OEMs, connected car solution, dashboards, applications for car to enable secure. Now sitting here at my place, I can open my car with a remote. How is it? This is all because of the sensors. So health diagnostic data for maintenance of car equipment. So the same health diagnostic data can be used for equipments that are used in healthcare in hospitals, when it needs to go for a servicing, when it needs to be done. So that is maintenance of equipments, health equipments. But there are certain challenges existing in this Indian IoT ecosystem, that is cost of technology, privacy, connectivity. Now, during this lockdown period, we have faced enough challenges when we have done the online classes. So those challenges, the same challenges exist even in because of this ecosystem, which is due to connectivity, then cost of technology, because people are not able to afford daily. If I conduct 10 hours of class, I do not know how many students will be able to afford their data cards to have this. When we say video also to be uploaded, video to be seen. So these are some issues that we see to have an Indian IoT ecosystem in India. Awareness is too less. So to have growth of IoT in India, we have different people to play their roles. One is role of government, but government of India has announced a policy in IoT by accelerating R&D efforts, that is research and development efforts, then startup funding, then setting standards for this nodal setups, nodal centers. Already we have NITI Aayog, then MHRD coming with the innovation centers at every institutions. So these are all where it is promoting this IoT market and enabling people to create awareness and usage of IoTs. The technology framework, sensor technology, network infrastructure, along just not adding sensor technology and infrastructure will suffice. It needs to have augmented intelligence to be added to it. So innovation at grassroots with startups in India. We see so many startups coming with support of incubation of ideas to business. So entrepreneurship coming lot. Then skill set of manpower. Till now what we had skill set is not sufficient. It is now problem solving skill set that we need to have, and cross functional, cross disciplinary, interdisciplinary that we talk. These are the specialized skill sets of manpower that is needed by the industry, and who are cross disciplinary, that is interdisciplinary, and they have cross functional skill set. They will be successful in deployment of IoT. To have an understanding of what IoT market size by industry in India is. So 40% of consumers use these IoT products, and 60% is used at industry. And revenue generated through this 40% of units used by the customer is 45%, and industry is 55%. When we talk about industry revenue, it is generated by industry with healthcare 10%, retail 9%. See, these are different things that are given, that are shown here with 25%. I mean, that pie, how much they are going to contribute in this 55% of revenue that is generated by different industries which are using IoT. If you see this, the digital investment, what we see as given in India, IoT holds 36%, where 38% is for big data analytics, and top area of focus where the next 3 to 5 years is IoT. This is what the investment is in digital technologies. This is a major thing which comes as a shocking to everyone around. See the number of connected devices per person. 2020 it is, world population is 7.6 billion, but the devices are exceeding 4 times. That is 50 billion devices are going to get connected. So more connected devices than people we see now in 2020. But where is India around when it comes to industry 4.0, 4.0, which we are talking about as automation? So it is 3 bots only in India. Despite being 6th largest manufacturing country, only 3 bots are available per 10,000 workers, whereas South Korea stands with 631 bots per 10,000 workers. That is, there is a large scope for IoT in India to establish yourself. So when we speak of pros, there are cons also to speak about hazards. So increase in devices, increase energy, resources, short life. When they have very short life, use and throw, it becomes large. That could cause pollutants and very difficult to remove from the environment until they are biodegradable. So the radiation from these sensors may cause loss of appetite, mood swing, disturbance, eye problems, leg cramps, fatigue. See, now mobile is only causing us so much of frustration and irritation because of often it rings. Problems in sleeping, headache, heart problems. See, these are all the side effects that we see by using sensors, smart devices. So on a finishing note, I would like to tell that IoT applications, the numbers they are increasing up to what we said, that is 4 times larger than the number of people around. There are issues also which deal with legal, need, security, privacy. When it comes to benefits, it is efficient, improvement, sustainable, everything. But when it comes to dangers, it is hacking, dependency, labor effect, unemployment problems that will be caused due to automation. But it is not true that automation is going to give you out the jobs. It is, you are losing the jobs, but it is other way around. The skill set that is needed for the jobs, the role of the job is different. So, but the job is going to be there. That is the truth of this IoT. People have a wrong notion telling that when everything is getting automated, there will be less jobs. No, jobs are there, more jobs are there, but the role of jobs is different. Now the job of service comes into picture. So the new truth about this is the amount of jobs will increase despite increased level of automation, where Germany research study says that 350,000 new jobs will be created in the manufacturing industry by 2025 in spite of having all the robots around and automation created. Only thing is working role of the employee will change. So these are the references that I've used for my presentation. So this comes to an end of my presentation by having a deep sense of gratitude to the authors of papers and articles I have referred for this presentation. And I have a major thank you for Basva Prabhu Kore BCA College Management, organizers of this FPP, and Professor Vishweshwaraya Hallur for providing this platform to share and learn about IoT. So any question from your end, please?
Okay. Is there any questions from the audience? Please ask the questions. Only one or two questions. If you have any questions, please, otherwise chat there, put it in the chat box. Okay. I think there are no questions.
Okay, thank you Vishweshwaraya for giving me this opportunity once again. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for, in spite of your busy schedule, you have given the time for us, and even you have given 2 more resource persons. Thank you very much for your support and this thing.
Vishweshwaraya, I would like to ask a small apology because of the connectivity issues, which I was not able to connect initially for a few seconds, which I would have wasted some time, valuable time of your participant and yours. Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.